Pleased to call this Tuesday, September 29th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. Additionally, before we begin, any members of the public that wish to provide oral testimony during today's meeting, please review the instructions posted on the Clerk of the Board's webpage, or remind members of the public that have requested to speak to wait to dial into the meeting until the item is called. With that, I'll now call the roll. Supervisor Jacob?
Here.
Supervisor Gaspar? Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher here.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Here.
Chairman Cox?
Here. In order to get started this morning, we're going to do the invocation first, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this morning is going to be given by Father Garrett Galvin, who's with the Church of the Immaculate Conception in Old Town. And it's my understanding, Father, that this is the 100th anniversary of your church. So congratulations, and we're honored to have you with us to give the invocation.
Thanks so much, Chairman Cox. Almighty and ever-loving God, we ask you for an increase of faith and trust in your goodness. We especially remember our Jewish brothers and sisters who celebrated Yom Kippur yesterday. We beg for an end to the scourge of anti-Semitism and racism that has so afflicted them over the ages and continues to hinder all of us from fully becoming Martin Luther King's beloved community. We pray for a greater sense of the common good, especially in those who are tired and exhausted after so many months of suffering through COVID. May God bless and keep us. May God turn God's countenance to us and have mercy on us. May God turn God's face to us and give us peace. We ask this all in your name. Amen.
Father Galvin, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We sincerely appreciate your invocation. This time I'd ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move on now to the presentation of proclamations, and we have one this morning that's going to be presented by Supervisor Nathan Fletcher. This is honoring Mana de San Diego for Hispanic Heritage Month, and to accept the proclamation will be the Board President, Venus Molina, and Executive Director, Inez Perez Chica. Supervisor Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. National Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated September 15th through October 15th to recognize Latino Americans' contributions and honor the impact those contributions have had on our community. Today, in honor of this month, I want to recognize Mana de San Diego. The famous Latina writer Isabel Allende said, "You only have what you give. It's by spending it that you become rich." 34 years ago, 5 local Latinas identified the need to amplify the Latino voice on issues of education, politics, the economy, social issues, and so they established the San Diego chapter of MANA. MANA is the abbreviated version of the word hermana, which means sister. Mana de San Diego has brought together Latinos. These women have bonded through their culture, their history, their language. They have collectively given of themselves and their work with MANA to enrich others. MANA develops, nurtures, and empowers Latinas through its several successful programs. Hermanitas, a one-on-one youth leadership mentor program that matches middle and high school girls with local professional women for a year to encourage higher education and leadership development. The program teaches life skills that go beyond the classroom. They get into so much more about what they learn. Annually, their scholarship program gives tens of thousands of dollars. They host leadership programs and numerous volunteer opportunities. And all of this good is done with a focus on remaining true to the mission of serving Latinas in San Diego, continuing to remain a proud voice and advocate for their culture. And so it is my privilege on behalf of Chairman Cox and the entire Board of Supervisors to commend MANA for their outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to uplifting Latinas throughout our community, and declare this 29th day of September 2020 to be MANA de San Diego Day throughout San Diego County. And it is a great pleasure to have their board president, Venus Molina, along with their executive director, Dr. Inez Gonzalez Perechica, both here to present. And I will tell you, there's a wonderful photo out there of Venus and my wife participating in the MANA program several decades ago. And this program has trained so many of the leaders of today in San Diego County, have benefited from this program and the networking and the support. And so it's a great honor to have both of them here with us today. And I'd like to turn it over to them to let them say a few words and virtually accept this recognition.
Buenos dias. This is Venus Molina, Chair, and thank you so much, Supervisor Fletcher, and thank you to all of the other supervisors as well. It is a pleasure to be here today virtually. And yes, we have that wonderful picture with your lovely wife many, many years ago. I've been a product of MANA de San Diego for the last 34 years. And it has been an incredible ride. And it is so beneficial for someone like me to be a product of the organization, now be at the helm of this great organization that changes lives. We at MANA believe that if you educate a woman, you educate the family and you educate the community. And that's the way that we really try to focus on our goals, is from the classroom to the boardroom and to the political chairs that we're trying to accomplish. Latinas will make 1 of 5 throughout the country. And so we are a growing majority, and it's important that we support organizations like MANA so that we can do the work and educate and empower the women of our future. I'm also very proud to introduce our new executive director, Dr. Inez Perechica, who is new to MANA, and she has a new vision and will continue to take this organization to that next level. Inez?
Thank you, Venus. Thank you, Supervisor Fletcher and the rest of the supervisors for this recognition. The only thing I'm going to add is that on behalf of the hundreds of volunteers, Latinas, local Latinas that are uplifting the community, we thank you for this recognition.
Congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Congratulations, Venus and Inez.
Thank you, Supervisor Cox. Thank you. You're a wonderful member. Yes, thank you.
Actually, I think I need to renew my membership, so send me a...
Yes, don't worry. We will make sure you do. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to the public communications. It's my understanding that we have no public communications speakers today. We do have one. All right.
Mr. Chairman, we do have one non-agenda public comment this morning.
Okay, go ahead.
That comment is from Kathleen Lippett. It reads, there is a signature gathering effort to overturn the state's recent tobacco flavor ban. Signature gatherers seem to be misrepresenting what signing their petition means. Signees are being told they are getting rid of flavored tobacco products instead, when their signatures will actually put a measure on the ballot that will overturn the state's ban. The industry would then spend millions to mislead the public into passing such a measure. Please warn constituents of this deceitful practice. The remaining e-comments that were submitted under non-agenda public communication were related to items on today's agenda. Those comments have been distributed to the board and will be filed with the appropriate agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. We'll move on now to the approval of the statement of proceedings and the minutes for the regular meeting of September 15th, the Board of Supervisors special meeting of September 9th and September 17th, and the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority meeting of July 7th and August 25th, 2020. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Supervisor Gaspar, seconded by Supervisor Jacob. If there's no discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob.
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar.
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond.
Aye.
Chairman Cox, the motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Very good. We'll move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is the formation of the consent calendar. All items on the agenda today will be considered routine and will be enacted upon by one motion unless there's a desire on the part of the public or members of the board to to pull items for further discussion. Let me ask the clerk of the board to identify those items that have been pulled by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1 has been pulled by the public. Item 2 is a presentation item. Item 5 has been pulled by the public. Item 24, our closed session matters will be considered at the conclusion of the board's public session. All the remaining items on the Board of Supervisors agenda, as well as the in-home supportive services public authority agenda, may be placed on the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
Very good. We'll move on now to my colleagues on the board, starting with Supervisor Jacob. Do you have any items you'd like to pull from the agenda or additional comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment on item number 23, which is the expansion of the Business Recovery Loan Program to the entire county. This program was first established back in April to help small businesses in the unincorporated area which do not have any city funding to tap into. 4 million of the 5 million is still available in this program. So it only makes sense to open this up to additional businesses in the entire region. As we know, businesses are still suffering and could use another lifeline to get them through this pandemic. So with that, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll move on now to Supervisor Gaspar.
Thank you. I will second that motion. I would like to poll, however, item number 12 for further board discussion. A presentation is not necessary. Thank you.
Okay, and we'll move on now to Supervisor Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no items to pull. I want to make brief comments on 2 items. Item 6, the REACH grant. Flu vaccinations is especially important this year. It's critical every year, but especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The CDC has prioritized the importance of flu vaccinations for the entire flu season and is extending funding to existing local, racial, and ethnic approaches to community health, otherwise referred to as REACH recipients. Today, our board is accepting a supplemental REACH grant totaling almost $200,000. This grant will assist our public health department to conduct targeted communication outreach to specific groups who are at higher risk from complications from the flu. These same groups are at higher risk for COVID-19 as well, and protecting them from the flu is important to decrease the risk of co-infection. I want to recognize the ongoing work of our public health department through the REACH grant, which is a 5-year grant that supports ongoing activities to improve health, prevent chronic disease, reduce health disparities among racial and ethnic populations with a high risk of chronic disease. This is very important work, and I'm glad to see our public health department is taking the initiative to pursue this targeted funding. On item 8, I want to support this item. In July of 2019, I partnered with Supervisor Cox, and we asked our board to expand funding, enhance training opportunities for both child welfare services and juvenile probation. This was a recommendation that came about as a result of a report to our board that included multiple suggestions on how we can improve the system of care and strengthen both youth and families. These trainings will enhance ongoing efforts to ensure a culturally competent workforce is engaging with our youth and families. The training will also extend to other divisions of the county, like our test, trace, and treat units, to build on culturally responsive practices and for health and human services executive leadership. This is a good step and a positive thing for these targeted areas of our county. But if we truly want to have a county workforce that embraces the differences, addresses racial disparities, we should implement longstanding policies that go much broader than just these targeted efforts. And I look forward to working with our newly established Office of Equity and Racial Justice to continue our efforts to bring about systemic change. But today in item 8, we're asked to approve the use of $1.3 million, amending a contract with SDSU Research Foundation to support training of our county workforce. This is a good item, and I urge our support.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor. We'll move on now to our Vice Chairman, Jim Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a comment on item 23 and a slight modification to the motion, if that's okay with the motion makers. But first, I want to thank Supervisor Jacob for partnering with me on this small business program that which the board approved on April 21st, which was targeted primarily or only for businesses in the unincorporated area. We still have $4 million left in that in particular program. And I'm happy to see this, we can open this up to all the cities and businesses throughout the county. But I would like to modify the motion slightly to continue to give priority to additional unincorporated businesses that apply. Basically, that if a application comes in from the unincorporated area, they'd be the first to be reviewed and granted until all the funds are expended, because originally all of this was to go to the unincorporated area. So I'd still like to have them a priority as we open this up to all the cities. So if that's okay with the motion maker and the seconder.
Jacob here, that's okay with me.
Okay, Supervisor Gaspar?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have no items to pull. Just a brief comment on item 9, which is the San Diego County Small Business Stimulus Program grants. I know each of the supervisors have been working very diligently to get these grants out as quickly as we can. I'm very proud of the fact that the $4.1 million that I was allocated, we're going to be providing assistance to 553 different businesses in District 1. And I know each of the other supervisors have been very diligently working to extend those funds within their districts to businesses to help them hopefully get through this pandemic crisis that we're all dealing with. With that, we do have a motion by Supervisor Jacob, seconded by Supervisor Gaspar to approve the consent calendar. If there is no further discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, the motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
The first item that we're going to consider today is item 1, which is the Truth Act Community Forum. And this is brought forward by Supervisor Fletcher and myself. As we all know, under state law, the county must hold an annual community forum if its law enforcement agency provides federal immigration and customs enforcement with access to individuals in its custody. We've held this forum before in the community, and this item would set this year's forum for the November 17th regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. One of the requests that we've received over the years from the community is to hold this forum in the evening to allow greater participation from those who may be working or in school during the day and aren't able to attend a daytime meeting of the board. I think that this is a reasonable request, and so Supervisor Fletcher and I are proposing a time certain so that the forum can be held at 5 p.m. In this day of growing community mistrust of law enforcement, I believe it's critical that we provide a forum, and I believe that this will go a long way towards that goal. In addition, we are working with the clerk of the board to provide translation services for that meeting, and I know that Supervisor Fletcher also has some introductory comments.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. I appreciate your partnership on this important effort. I want to thank the community members who have shared their experience and thoughts on this issue. This is a matter of utmost importance to so many in the communities that both Supervisor Cox and I represent. It's about safety, it's about security, it's about fairness. In 2016, the state of California enacted the Transparent Review of Unjust Transfers and Holds, or Truth Act, which made law enforcement agencies that interact or deal with ICE hold an annual community forum. The law was meant to increase transparency and provide an opportunity for information and feedback from the community. It is meant to hold jurisdictions accountable in ensuring compliance with state laws and the opportunity for community input and questioning. Today, we have an opportunity to ensure that the spirit of the law is made a reality by making sure a community forum can take place at a time of day when more members of the community can participate. That's why we're asking to make this year's forum be held in the evening on November 17th, so that more voices of our community, which is what the Truth Act was intended to do, can be heard. And I urge our support. Thank you.
Supervisor, do you want to go ahead and make a motion?
I would make a motion for approval.
I would second that. I know we have, I believe, 6 public communication speakers. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and call those individuals at this time.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. Mr. Chairman, also note for the record that we received 97 e-comments on this item. We do have 5 callers on the line to address the board. As a reminder for the callers, if you do not wish to speak on this item, please hang up and call back when the board begins discussion of the next item. We'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number, and you'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I'd remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin their comments. Erin, if you could please identify the first caller.
Thank you. We'll begin with 5187.
Hi, good morning. My name is Chris Olson, and I'm calling on behalf of Jewish Family Service of San Diego. We are one of just one of many organizations in the region serving the needs of our immigrant and refugee community, and we're urging support of this matter. Thank you very much, Supervisors Cox and Fletcher, for working to respond to the requests of the community and to provide the maximum public input possible for this very important matter. And once again, we just urge support, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 0463.
Good morning, Supervisor Cox and board members and staff. My name is Margaret Baker, and I'm speaking on behalf of South Bay People Power in support of agenda item number 1 to schedule the 2020 Truth Act Forum during the evening so people who work during the day can participate. What we seek from the Truth Act Forum this year is a genuine exchange of information and perspectives about law enforcement practices that affect not only the safety, but the health and well-being of our entire community. We need transparency and accountability regarding these practices and the full attention, consideration, and response of all our elected officials to our public comments to make this forum meaningful. We request translation of written materials prior to the meeting and interpretation of oral comments during the meeting for individuals who speak one of the county's top 5 threshold languages besides English. The Truth Act Forum is an accountability forum, so it is crucial that the sheriff be present to hear public comments as well as to provide answers to questions from the community and the board regarding SDSO collaboration with federal immigration agencies. We also ask for ample time and open dialogue between the sheriff, the board, members of the community to allow this important conversation to take place. This year, we are especially mindful of the tremendous toll of COVID-19 on county residents, including those incarcerated in our local jails, prison, and detention center. COVID-19 is not contained by jail cell or prison walls, and our county is responsible for decisions about transfers and other practices that impact the health and welfare of all members of our community. For these reasons, South Bay People Power urges you to support item number 1 and in an evening Truth Act forum that is transparent, accessible, meaningful, and accountable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5288.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca, and I am calling in support of item number 1 to hold a 2020 Truth Act Forum on the evening of November 17th. I believe that civic engagement is the root of our democracy, and we must make every effort to allow those most impacted by policy to be present and have a voice. Many people face uncertainty this year because of COVID-19, including longer hours and less daytime flexibility for essential workers and those overseeing distance learning for their children. Please vote yes on item number 1 to ensure those impacted by this policy have an opportunity to attend the forum during the evening when they are most likely to be able to make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6917.
Hello, Supervisors. My name is Erin Surmoto Grassi. I am a Human Rights Policy Advisor with Alliance San Diego. I'm calling to urge you to support item 1 today. The last 2 years, our organization, along with our partners in the San Diego Immigrant Rights Consortium and other community organizations in San Diego County, have mobilized and organized our community members for the Truth Act Forum. This has been extremely difficult the last couple of years because the forums were held in the morning. And while we had a lot of people who were interested in attending, many could not make it because they had to work during the day. And so while I will not repeat the words of my colleagues who went previously, I am in agreement, complete agreement with Maggie Baker, Chris Olson, and others that we need to make this Truth Act Forum as accessible as possible. And the way that we do that is making certain that sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. It muted me again. But anyways, I was just ending up comments and mentioning that it's important that we make the Truth Act Forum as accessible as possible. And so I'm very happy to see that this item to move for an evening forum is on the agenda today, and I urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is 8281.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Marely Ramirez. I am a leader with Indivisible San Diego Persist. I am calling regarding the support of Supervisor Cox and Supervisor Fletcher's proposal to hold the 2020 Truth Act Forum on the evening of November 17th. It is extremely important that the Truth Act Forum be held in the evening because, as other speakers have now said, and I won't repeat, many of these hardworking community members work during the day. Therefore, in order for you to understand the painful reality of community members having to deal with the sheriff's collaboration with ICE and other DHS agencies, I urge you all to vote yes on the holding of a 2020 Truth Act Forum the evening of November 17th. I thank you so much for taking my call. Have a good day.
Thank you. Our next caller is 0854.
Good morning. I'm Kim Knox, representing the League of Women Voters of San Diego and North County, San Diego. I'm calling in support of Supervisor Cox and Supervisor Fletcher's proposal to hold the 2020 Truth Act Forum on the evening of November 17th. The League of Women Voters is a strong supporter of government transparency and well-defined channels for citizen input and review. To that end, we request that the Board of Supervisors hold Truth Act hearings at a time and location convenient for working people to come and make their voices heard. Further, we request that the sheriff be present to hear comments and that community members have the ability to ask questions of him directly. The League of Women Voters supports law enforcement policies that build public trust and positive community relationships through police engagement with community members. We request that a 15-minute community presentation be incorporated in the forum. The League of Women Voters asks this board to ensure that the Sheriff's Department comply fully with the Truth Act and SB 54, accurately report the number of people transferred to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and commit to transparency on their participation with ICE on joint task forces and shared databases. Please vote yes on item 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4238. If you'd like to address the board on item 1, please unmute yourself and state your first and last name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Dulce Garcia. I'm the Executive Director for Border Angels, and I'm calling today on behalf of the San Diego Immigrant Rights Consortium, which is a coalition of over 50 community, faith, labor, and legal organizations across San Diego County that fight for the rights of immigrants and refugees. And we support the proposal to hold the Truth Act Forum in the evening to make it more accessible for community members to attend. Previous forums have been held in the morning, and it's made it difficult for community members to attend. Now more than ever during this pandemic, it's crucial that the community be heard, and therefore we ask that this meeting be held in the afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item, Chairman Cox.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate the public comment on this item. Is there any board discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Supervisor Fletcher, seconded by myself. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and call the roll at this time.
Thank you, Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob.
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar.
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond.
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. Our next item is item number 2, which is the Emergency Services Report. This is receiving an update on the 2019 Wildfire Resilience Review Report. And Holly Porter, who is our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the Public Safety Group, is going to lead us in this presentation.
Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. Last September, your board approved the first of its kind Wildland Fire Resilience Report. The report represented the most comprehensive wildfire analysis the county has undertaken to date. The report concluded that the county's investment in firefighting preparedness, response, and recovery capabilities has paid off. The county's fire suppression capability is unrivaled, not just in our region, but throughout the United States. Yet, more can still be done to further reduce risk and improve community resilience to devastating wildfires. This morning, Gary Johnston, the county's Chief Resilience Officer, will provide an update on the progress the county has made in accomplishing the report's 16 objectives and 50 associated tasks designed to improve our wildfire resilience. CAL FIRE and County Fire Chief Tony Meacham will then provide highlights of accomplishments achieved over the past year. He will also discuss the wildfire outlook for the rest of 2020 as we head into October and the height of our Santa Ana wind events. I'll now turn the presentation over to Gary.
Thank you, Holly. Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. The County Resilience Program was developed to reduce community risks to acute shocks and chronic stressors. The principal component of the program is the resilience review process highlighted here. The resilience review process is a 5-step process designed to proactively identify and address resilience gaps in the county's approach to reduce community risk. The result of the deliberate process was the Wildland Fire Resilience Review Report. Objectives and tasks contained in the report focus directly on enhancing specific core capabilities in the areas of wildfire protection and mitigation, or pre-fire, response and recovery. Progress made during year 1 has been significant. Pre-fire readiness has been a priority of effort, and we've made great progress in this mission area. Despite the challenges of 2020, including the team's participation in COVID-19 response, 2/3 of the identified actions have been completed to date. By September 2021, most of the 50 tasks will be accomplished by this date, with few exceptions for long-range projects such as VHF network initiative and procurement and installation of additional ground and aviation fire detection cameras. With that, I will now turn over the presentation to Chief Tony Meacham, who will provide some highlights across these 3 mission areas.
Thank you, Gary. Achieving our preparedness tasks has been a priority, and we have made great strides in accomplishing the pre-fire tasks identified within this report. County Fire has completed the staffing of its Community Risk Reduction Division. The division is integral to our community outreach and preparedness activities. It was through this division that progress has been made in the development of new community wildfire protection plans. These plans, developed in close coordination with the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County, provide guidance to local communities in the areas of defensible space, fuels treatment, structural hardening, community education, and evacuation planning. We have worked closely with community fire safe councils to pre-identify evacuation options and then map them out, such as in the map shown on this slide for Palomar Mountain. This way, community members study and learn the evacuation options well in advance of a wildfire. Last year, County Fire completed 6 new CWPPs. County Fire has also increased defensible space inspections, more than doubling the number we completed from 2018 to 2019. This year, we are on track to meet or exceed last year's total, despite the ongoing challenges of COVID-19 and major wildfires burning around the state. County Fire also increased its geographic information system capabilities through additional staffing and a focus on new technologies. County Fire has taken over management of the Regional Public Safety Geodatabase. On September 15, 2020, this board approved the donation of funding for a software system that will allow us to collect and analyze data such as the Community Wildfire pre-plans. Target hazards and fire history areas can be used by all agencies in the county through this software and the Regional Public Safety Geodatabase. Although our efforts in stopping the wildfire before it starts are priority, the county must be able to sustain its robust wildfire response capabilities. County Fire now has 4 urban search and rescue units that will provide the county with increased technical rescue capability. This involves the location, extrication, and initial medical stabilization of victims trapped, namely in structural collapse due to natural disasters. In addition to the equipment and training, we are pursuing a regional response team with North County Fire agencies. The combined efforts of County Fire, CAL FIRE, the Sheriff's Office, and the Office of Emergency Services have made tremendous efforts in improving the county's tactical communications capability, critical in combating wildland fires. Communication enhancements include implementation and transition to the new P25 digital radio system, procurement of additional radio repeaters and infrastructure to enhance VHF radio reception and transmission, and investment in satellite communications. The Department of Animal Services also developed a standard operating procedure for the evacuation, care, and repopulation of animals. This includes an incident operations checklist and receiving site operations plan for housing animals large and small. It also identifies 33 potential sites for animal receiving areas that have been evaluated and listed for use in 2020. These sites were successfully used during the recent Valley Fire. Great progress has also been made within the recovery mission area. Our County Public Works Department has been working hard with key stakeholders to continue to improve upon the county's debris removal program. A key task associated with this objective was identifying and developing a list of available debris and medical waste disposal sites. The Department of Parks and Recreation also led a working group that looked at improving the speed and efficiency in providing emergency interim housing. Standard lease agreement templates for interim housing locations were created, along with templated board letters to waive permit fees. The working group also created a site evaluation worksheet with over 160 potential interim housing locations that will be reviewed and updated biannually. Another noteworthy accomplishment by our Health and Human Services Agency was the purchase and launch of a Live Well mobile office. This has been used extensively to support the county's COVID testing program and recently deployed to a local assistance center in response to the Valley Fire. The collective efforts to accomplish these critical tasks have better prepared us as we look ahead to our wildfire risks for the remainder of 2020. This year, wildfires are burning on an unprecedented scale. 2020 has now surpassed all records as the worst fire season in California history. The month of August was the hottest on record in San Diego County, and as of today, 18,700 firefighters continue to battle 27 major fires across the state. These fires have burned over 3.7 million acres, sadly claimed the lives of 29 people, and destroyed over 7,000 structures. Red flag conditions are present over much of the state today. The chance for extreme fire behavior is expected to increase in the coming months as we enter the Santa Ana season. With hot and dry conditions this summer and so little rainfall, live and dead fuel moistures continue to be extremely dry and are receptive to critical fire behavior. The map shows the moisture levels as of September 5th, with dark red showing the most severe drought conditions. Note the red and dark red in the southwestern United States and Southern California. All of this tells us we cannot let our guard down. Our weather forecasting partners inform us that we should expect to see significant fire potential through December. San Diego County remains red, meaning above normal fire potential through October, November, and December. This is based on the expectation of little to no rainfall, temperatures hotter than normal, and an above average number of Santa Ana wind events. In sweltering red flag conditions over Labor Day weekend, we responded to the Valley Fire in East County. This was the first significant wildfire incident in San Diego this year. While the fire was large and damaging, it could have been far worse. The improvements made by this board have dramatically increased our ability to respond to and manage incidents such as this. I will highlight just a few of the examples of our improvements in action. First, 10 county-funded fire engines that have been staffed with full-time professional firefighters since 2014 made a significant difference in the initial stages of the fire in the communities of Carve-Acre and Lawson Valley. The additional defensible space inspections and education, limited damage to structures, and a fuel break that we recently completed on Wise Carver Road area of Lawson Valley provided a second means of egress for the community. Updated evacuations procedures worked seamlessly, and sheriff's deputies ensured residents were kept out of harm's way. Our County Fire Community Emergency Response Team also took the lead in mobilizing dozens of CERT volunteers from across the region through mutual aid. These volunteers from the City of San Diego, Ramona, Deer Springs, and other CERT programs, including our own, helped the American Red Cross staff temporary evacuation points and coordinate lodging. On behalf of all of the men and women of County Fire, I want to thank you for your ongoing support. With that, I will turn the presentation back to Holly.
Thank you, Chief Meacham. As Gary Johnston and the Chief outlined this morning, wildfire resilience is not solely a public safety issue. It requires the attention and participation of health, land use, communications, and many other county departments, in addition to action by the residents of San Diego County to prepare. Wildfires are not going away, and each of us has a role to play in the pursuit of wildfire resilience. Chairman Cox, this concludes our presentation, subject to your board's questions.
Very good. Let me ask the clerk if we have any public speakers on this item.
Mr. Chairman, there are no requests to speak on this item.
Okay. Then we'll go to board discussion, and I know Vice Chair Jim Desmond has some comments he wishes.
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Chief Meacham, Herman Reddick, Office of Emergency Services, Gary Johnson, the public safety group led by Holly Porter. You guys all do a fantastic job, and when these emergencies come up and these fires come up, you run to them, you don't run away from them, so thank you. This is all very good news, and I feel our county is in very good shape to tackle all of the potential fires. And the effort in putting out the Valley Fire was swift and effective. Many homes and lives were saved by our firefighters, and well-executed responses were planned and trained for. And thank you again to all the rank and file firefighters who put their lives on the line to battle this blaze. Thinking about the campfire that burned down in Paradise, the town of Paradise, 77% of those who died were senior citizens. And I think it's really important that we continue to reach out, inform, and help our senior citizens, particularly in the unincorporated areas, and those who are they are the ones that are most vulnerable to the wildfires. So I'm still looking forward to getting the Knox Box program launched. That's designed to help and access those that are most vulnerable. And as you know, we're all still very concerned about the evacuation corridor clearance and defensible space. I've had several requests from the last year and a half concerning clearing of roadways and brush along our roads and evacuation routes. So Chief Meacham, you didn't really touch on it, but I know that the Ember Vent program that was put forward by Supervisor Jacob and myself, along with the building material program, that Ember Vent program is not, it's not a one size fits all, we're finding out, and there's dollars, I guess, still left in that program that just may not be able to be used. But what I'd like to ask is if you could possibly maybe give or come back with potential other uses of those funds on or fuel reductions or possible clearing along roadways and evacuation routes, if that's possible, if these monies at the Ember Vent program aren't going to be spent that way. I think it still should be spent on fire protection and prevention. So I'd like to maybe, I don't know if you can comment on that today or come back, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, are there further comments from my colleagues?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Jacob.
Thank you. I too would like to share my congratulations and a great job by Holly and Gary and Chief Meacham on the report. San Diego County Fire keeps moving forward and in a very good way. And we are clearly better prepared today than we have ever been in the history of this county in terms of the prevention and also the suppression of another fire. My concern, however, is because we have a lot of fires that are breaking out in the northern part of the state and then not too far north from us, is resources must be spread a bit thin at this point. So my question, Chief Meacham, if you can give us some kind of a brief on how prepared we are in terms of adequate resources going into October, which we know is our worst potential fire time. And if there's anything the board needs to know or do in terms of resources, to let us know that.
Thank you, Supervisor Jacob. Yes, this summer has been incredibly taxing on the California Fire Service. Since August, we have been operating at really maximum capacity. We certainly learned in years previous that we're at the end of the cul-de-sac and we cannot deploy all of our resources to the north of us. Fortunately, this year through the governor's office and the legislature, CAL FIRE hired nearly 1,000 additional firefighters to manage this season. We've also brought in over 300 fire engines from out of state to help battle the fires in Northern California. So I feel very comfortable with where we are at in San Diego. We've also enjoyed tremendous cooperation from our partnering fire agencies. We have daily discussions about how many resources that we want to send out of county, looking at the threat to San Diego. As we enter the Santa Ana season, we'll continue to upstaff as appropriately. And I can tell you that with the CAL FIRE leadership, they certainly understand that we need to have adequate resources in San Diego and throughout Southern California as we enter this peak Santa Ana season. So I feel very comfortable with where we're at today.
Thank you, Chief. If there's anything that this board needs to know or do in regards to that, please let us know.
Okay, any other comments? Supervisor Desmond?
I guess I asked the chief if he could, I don't know if he commented on that vent program, if that Ember vent program, and where we stand with that and potential use of those dollars. I asked him to come back with that, but I wonder if he had a comment today.
Vice Chairman Desmond, yeah, we were unable to move forward with the Ember grant, resistant grant vent program for a variety of reasons. Staff is currently reviewing the resiliency report and all of the initiatives that the board tasked us. The funds for the Ember resistant grant have already been encumbered by the Fire Authority, so we will be making recommendations to invest that money in fire. I think it's up to the board whether they would like us to come back or just direct staff to use the money within the scope of the resiliency report.
Well, I think I'd like to know how it was spent, and I don't know if you have to come back to the entire board. I trust that you're gonna spend that money wisely. I just, if you could maybe through an email or something like that to the board, how it was spent would be appreciated.
We can certainly.
Okay, go ahead, Chief.
We can certainly come back with how we're going to utilize those funds.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion to receive the report?
We probably should, yes.
I would so move.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Just a brief comment. Again, I want to thank Holly Porter and Chief Meacham and Gary Johnson for the report today. You know, looking back, obviously Diane has been at the forefront of the board over the years. Former Supervisor Ron Roberts and Bill Horn, in regards to addressing the fire issues we've been dealing with in this county. Really all the members of the board, including the current ones, have been focusing on this. And I think, you know, as I look back to the 2003 fires, the 2007 fires, we are so much better prepared today, as Supervisor Jacob has acknowledged, than we were then. That doesn't mean we're immune from future wildfires, but I think, you know, with the arrangements that we have with the aerial fire suppression, the SDG&E super crane that we bring into service, the relationship we have with the military so that we can call on military helicopters to assist in a major fire, I think has really made a big difference. And I think obviously the consolidation over the years of a lot of the smaller fire protection districts into the San Diego County Fire Authority has certainly ensured that there's a very smooth operation among all the different fire providers in this region. So again, we're never going to be completely safe, but I know we're much better prepared today than we were in years past. We do have a motion from Supervisor Jacob, seconded by myself, to receive the report. There's no further discussion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5 now. This is to receive an update on the COVID-19 response, ratify actions, and authorize any other actions necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic. We will have a presentation by Don Stroyer, who is our former Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, but he's been brought out of retirement to assist us in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. Don, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Before Mr. Story begins, any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. You will be muted until it is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. Since we last presented to your board, there have been a few developments of the COVID-19 response. We have successfully maintained our status on California's blueprint for a safe reopening, resulting in the continued opening of a variety of non-essential businesses. Our safe reopening compliance team continues to support in addressing the needs of these local businesses and other entities to ensure they are in compliance with the state and county regulations, while encouraging the health and safety of their employees, customers, and communities. Today's presentation will feature our Public Health Officer, Dr. Wilma Wooten, who will provide a public health update, as well as the county's status on the state's tiered system and what that looks like locally. We'll also be joined by Nick Mascione, our Test, Trace, and Treat, or T3 Director, who will be discussing the recent achievements of the testing efforts within San Diego County. And finally, Andy Pease, our Incident Command Finance Chief, will provide a brief update on spending estimates. Without further ado, I'll welcome Dr. Wooten.
Thank you, Don. Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. Since the last presentation to your board on September 22nd, an additional 1,587 cases have been reported for a total of 46,734 laboratory-confirmed positive COVID-19 cases as of 11:59 p.m. Sunday, September 27th. This table provides a summary of these cases with a breakdown by age, hospitalization, ICU admissions, and deaths. 26,952, or 57.7% of the cases, are between the ages of 20 and 49 years of age. 3,502, or 7.5%, have been hospitalized. And of that number, 816, or 1.7% of the total number of cases, and 24% of those hospitalized required ICU admission. And unfortunately, 776, or 1.7%, of the total number of cases have died. In this next slide, the epi curve shows cases by onset of illness. As is shown, starting in the middle of June, cases saw a sharp decrease, which was due to reopening of business operations on June 12th. In mid-July, a decline in cases was seen after restrictions were imposed by the state to curtail cases. Cases leveled off in mid-August and then began to slightly increase, where daily cases ranged from 200 to almost 400. On August 31st, the state rolled out the Blueprint for a Safer Economy, with various sectors, including schools, reopening. As a reminder, the last 14 days of the epi curve represent the incubation period where more cases are expected to occur. As occurred in the last board meeting, the blueprint for a safer economy is a plan for loosening or tightening restrictions on business operations based on specific public health metrics, which include the case rate and testing positivity. The tier framework lays out the metrics and thresholds that each county must meet in order to open more and more parts of the economy, and shows tiers based on risk of community disease transmission. So starting at the top, the purple tier is widespread transmission. The red tier is substantial transmission. The orange tier is moderate transmission. And the last and yellow tier is minimal transmission. And you see the thresholds for case rates and testing positivity. The California Department of Public Health assesses indicators weekly and releases the new tier status on Tuesdays of each week. In a county's adjusted case rate and testing metrics, positivity metrics, if a county's adjusted case rate and test positivity metrics falls in two different tiers, the county will be assigned to the more restrictive tier, as has been the case for San Diego County. Going to the next slide, in the new state monitoring system, the case rate and testing positivity are the core metrics. Also, the state testing rate is important as it is used to calculate the adjusted case rate. 2 weeks ago, on September 15th, the testing rate was changed from an average to the median testing rate, and the state also stated that the median testing rate would remain the same for 4 weeks, meaning we have 1 week left to use the current state median testing rate. If the county testing rate is above the overall state median testing rate, this adjusts the unadjusted county case rate to a lower case rate. However, if the county testing rate is below the state median testing rate, the unadjusted case rate is adjusted to a higher case rate. To note, today, September 29th, county staff calculated the adjusted case rate for the 7-day period from September 13th to September 19th to be 6.7, which keeps us in the red tier, and a testing positivity of 3.6, which is the orange tier. Remember, as the red tier, this is most restrictive, so again, this is where we remain. Based on our calculations of the data, San Diego County continues to be in Tier 2 or the red tier. The state is expected to publicly post its state metrics and the calculations by 12 noon today. The next slide shows the past 5 weeks with the date of state updates, case rate metrics results, and the week being evaluated. And we just wanted to amplify the fact that today, September 29th, the state range for the data analysis is for the week of Sunday, September 13th through Saturday, September 19th. This week, San Diego testing rate was above the state median testing rate, resulting in the unadjusted case rate being lowered from 7.2 to the adjusted case rate of 6.7 per 100,000 populations. While we cannot predict what the future holds for San Diego in the state tier system, there is some information that we do know. To continue in the red tier, we must maintain a testing volume that is above the state median testing rate of 216.35 per 100,000 population, which is 7,292 daily tests. As you may hear from Mr. Macchione, we exceed this number. The testing positivity continues to be in the orange tier or tier 3. Continuing prompt case investigations will ensure those who are positive are in isolation and close contacts are identified and quarantined. Lastly, to stay in the red tier, San Diego County must report an average of 236 daily cases or less. To advance to the orange tier, the county must demonstrate an average of 140 daily cases or less for 2 weeks. In closing, the prevention strategies on this slide are crucially important in determining the future trajectory of the COVID-19 pandemic until a vaccine is available to achieve herd immunity. These strategies directly impact testing positivity rate and the case rate. Lowering these metrics help to keep San Diego County in the red tier or tier 2 or progresses to the less restrictive tiers 3 and 4. By county residents doing their part to decrease testing positivity and the number of cases in San Diego County, these actions will also decrease hospitalizations, deaths, and outbreaks. I want to remind all San Diego County residents to please continue to do your part to slow the spread of COVID-19. Now please welcome Mr. Nick Mascione, the county's T3 director.
Thank you, Dr. Wooten. Our T3 strategy for testing is providing free COVID-19 PCR diagnostic tests across our entire county with a deeper focus in communities hardest hit by the pandemic, such as our South Bay communities. Our county region is currently reporting a 7-day average of nearly 8,400 tests, which, as Dr. Wooten pointed out, is well above the state average currently of 7,292. Now, of our tests, all the hospitals combined account for about half, 50%. Our county and our state account for about 34%. And the commercial labs, about 15% of those tests, with one federally qualified health center at 1%. Through our public-private partnership with the Helix Lab and our upcoming enhancements to our own public health lab, the county team has been steadily increasing our ability to make even more free tests available. For the past several weeks, we've been hard at work in adding 12 additional county-run test sites that will help nearly double the number of tests per week to 30,000 tests, week, by next month. This increased testing capacity follows our testing priorities, which includes focusing on testing for school personnel and students to support the reopenings of our schools, our colleges, and universities. And with our great partner at the County Board of Education, we have been diligently working and expanding school-only testing sites that are made available to all of our public, private, and charter K-12 schools. In all of our community partnerships, the goal of T3 is the same. It's about protecting the public's health, and in doing so, supporting our economic reopening. But we cannot do this through testing alone. Our trace and treat strategies play an equally vital role in stopping the spread of the virus. In addition to the nearly 1,000 county staff who are doing, I have to say, a stellar job in conducting timely disease investigations and contact tracing, we have also expanded to 7 community-based organizations and networks that we have contracted with to do culturally sensitive messaging on the importance of stopping the spread of COVID-19. Now, this is part of the broader overall health equity strategy that San Diego has been doing for many months now. Our contact tracers, including our promotoras and community health outreach workers, have been playing a vital role in reaching our hardest hit communities, again, all with the goal of slowing, if not stopping, the spread of the virus so we can lower our case rate. And now I'd like to pass it over to Andy Pease to provide an update on the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund spending update. Andy?
All right, thank you, Nick. Good morning. At the board hearing on September 15th, I provided you a rather extensive update on our CARES Act financials and programs and where we are at. I am not providing such an update today. Rather, I'd like to take a brief moment to lay out what we are doing to ensure we fully utilize these funds by December 30th, 2020, when the use of the CARES Act funding is set to end under the current statute. And there will be brief comments, so brief I don't even get a slide. So your board has allocated the entire $387.8 million of our CARES Act CRF funds for a variety of efforts, and ranging from direct response to food services, childcare, economic stimulus for small businesses and restaurants, rental assistance, and so forth. We are actively tracking these costs and working with each department to estimate the spending trends for the remainder of the year. I'll tell you, estimating these costs is challenging. We're working under a very condensed time frame, and when we estimate costs, we have to make certain assumptions. How quickly can we stand up a new program? How many folks will utilize a particular service, and at what frequency? How many businesses, small businesses, childcare providers, restaurants will apply for the support we offer? If we purchase equipment or PPE, are these supplies even available? And what is the trajectory of the virus, and what new or novel efforts do we need to implement in the remaining weeks for the rest of this calendar year? So those are just some of the variables we take into consideration when estimating costs. As I said, it's challenging, but we are getting a clearer picture on where we'll be by the end of December. And within a couple more weeks, we'll come back to your board on October 13th with our best estimate on our spending trends and whether we are over or underspending in any of our areas so that your board can take any necessary action based on these trends to ensure we maximize the use of the CARE Act funds. We also know that we will continue to have COVID-19 response costs well beyond the CARES Act period. So ideally, there will be legislative action at the federal level to extend the CARES Act dollars beyond this calendar year, and there is a HEROES Act bill currently being looked at. It does include extending CARES Act to December of 2021, so we'll come back in October with an update on that as well. This concludes my comments, and I'll turn it back over to Don.
Thanks, Andy. In addition to receiving this update, we recommend your board take the following actions with respect to this item. Ratify all actions previously taken in response to this local health emergency and local emergency. Take any other action necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic emergency response. Subject to your questions, this concludes our presentation.
Very good. Thank you for that very concise presentation this morning. Let me ask my colleagues if they have any questions before we go to the public speakers.
I have a question for Dr. Wooten, please.
Okay, Supervisor Gaspar and then Vice Chair Desmond.
Thank you. For Dr. Wooten, I saw late last night that CDPH posted new playground guidance, which is great. It does give us a lot more flexibility to open. I'm curious as to the timeline and when we think we might be able to get our county playgrounds up and running. This is obviously exciting news. Want to thank the Moms Coalition that I've been working with on this item as well. A lot of kids waiting to get back. So do you have an update on when we might see those playgrounds back open in the county's care?
Supervisor Gaspar, the guidelines are out, so the jurisdictions responsible for the playgrounds, whether it's city or parks, will work through the guidance that's provided for operators.
Supervisor Gaspar, this is Helen. If I could jump in here. Our Parks Department got the guidance last night, so they are busily working over the next day or two to get signage and all the things appropriate. Their goal is to have our parks playgrounds open this weekend. Sarah Gossie's here in the chamber. Sarah, nod that is, she's nodding affirmatively that yes, that is accurate. Also, we'll be working with the cities later on today to make sure that they have a couple days and hopefully they also can be active by this weekend. That is our goal. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I will let my youngest Addie know. She'll be really excited. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chairman Desmond.
Yes, thank you. Great report. Glad to hear, all the great news that's going on here within the county staff and our health officer. I had a question. I think I heard Dr. Wooten. Did you say that we're using the state's median average number now, but we were only going to be using that for another week or so? I don't know if I misheard you or if that, I guess, adjustment factor is going to stay in place or does it go away is what it sounded like.
It probably will be recalculated by the state because it's the median, so it reflects the testing volume of all 58 counties. So the state announced on September 15th that they would maintain the state's median for the next 4 weeks. And we have 1 week left in that 4-week period. We have not received any additional guidance on what that median will be going forward, but again, most likely it will be recalculated and provided to all of the county jurisdictions.
All right, I was under the understanding that it was recalculated every week once they got our numbers, but so we're holding on right now. So it's set for 4 weeks. You say we have 1 week left on the 216 number.
Yes.
And then going to get recalculated, I guess after next week. So, okay, well, that's news to me, but thank you very much. Appreciate the clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Desmond. Any other questions from my colleagues before we go to the speakers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I can do it now, or, excuse me, or later, either way. I'm curious, Dr. Wooten, or anyone that's on the the call, what sectors are negatively impacting our numbers at
Supervisor Jacob, there's no particular sector that's impacting our numbers as we are now in the red tier. There are specific businesses that can be open, schools have reopened, and colleges and universities have reopened. So cases are occurring throughout the county, but at this point in time, there's no specific sector that we can point to. And you might be referring to last week, we were talking about the outbreak that was at San Diego State. Those numbers are very small at this point in time. Yesterday, there was only a total of 5 cases total, 3 confirmed and 2 probable. So those numbers are decreasing significantly and do not have a significant impact.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know Hannah is doing an incredible job with the numbers, but I want to make sure we're also checking the math that the state is using, particularly when we're recalculating the median. Sounds like, I mean, Nick, your team's doing a great job on the testing. I mean, we're exceeding the state averages, which interestingly enough is only going to add to the state's median to potentially increase it depending on what other counties do. But I want to make sure that, because a lot of this is a mathematical equation, that we are holding the state accountable and how they're dealing with the math, and make sure that everything in our county is counted correctly. And then particularly when you're dealing with the number of tests statewide, that median number is accurately being calculated. So those would be my comments at this point. I think everybody's doing a great job. The public continues to do a really good job, and hopefully we can keep moving forward and do everything we can to do just that. So that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further comments from my colleagues, we'll ask the clerk to go ahead and call the speakers. I understand we have 4 speakers, and we'll ask you to go ahead and call them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll note for the record that we received 2 e-comments on this item. I'll be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. You'll hear this sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I'd remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Erin, if you could please identify the first caller.
Yes, our first caller is 2465. Again, 2465, you need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Well, we'll come back to 2465. We'll move on to 6784. 6784.
Good morning. My name is Marty Martinez. The County of San Diego Order of the Health Officer and Emergency Regulations, effective September 25th, 2020, includes the following statement, quote, "This order is issued as a result of the World Health Organization's declaration of a worldwide pandemic of COVID-19 disease, also known as novel coronavirus," unquote. I have 2 concerns. First, the World Health Organization uses the word pandemic, occurring over a wide geographic area and affecting an exceptionally high proportion of the population. By this definition, I believe the County of San Diego does not have a pandemic. There is no emergency. Second, the World Health Organization does not have jurisdiction or authority under the U.S. Constitution. Please note, the court declared the governor of Pennsylvania's mitigation orders for COVID-19 as unconstitutional for the following reasons. 1, gathering limits violate the First Amendment. 2, the stay-at-home order violates the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. 3, business closures violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The governor appealed and, as I understand, requested a stay from the court, and the court denied the stay. A similar lawsuit against the governor of Ohio is beginning the discovery phase. You, the board, have taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Members who served in the military took this oath as well, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The governor cannot mandate anything. These are words from his own mouth at a July news conference in Stockton, California. The governor cannot create law. So why are the orders still in effect when there is no emergency? Why are the orders still in effect if they violate the Constitution and infringe on individual liberties? As an individual, I do not consent to the order, for if I did, then a dangerous precedent could be construed to exist. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2465. Again, 2465. It's our only other caller on the line at this time, so. And that person has now left the call. So Chairman Cox, we have no other callers on this item at this time.
Okay, we'll come back then to the report. I would move that we receive the report and the recommendations included in item number 5.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Yes, Vice Chair Desmond.
Thank you, Max. I just have to make some comments here today. And once again, I always appreciate all the things that our county health officers are doing and our county staff and trying to get us open and get people to open up safely. But I still think this color tiered system is flawed. I mean, we beat it today primarily because of the number of testing we did, not that we really had a huge change or significant change in the number of people, testing positive, which is how many tests we actually did, and we beat the state average. So I still think that every business in San Diego County should be afforded the same opportunity to open up safely. We've got many businesses that are allowed to open up safely, and we're not allowing other businesses that could open up safely to do so. Back in March, it was the shutdowns. When the shutdowns happened, grocery stores and Costco set great examples on how to handle customers coming in and going through the business. And I believe that all businesses, would like to take that same model and, with the county's help, adapt to those specific business functions and realities. And following all of the guidelines, all of the social distancing guidelines, all of the health officer guidelines, all of the recommendations that Dr. Wooten had up on the screen for people to continue to follow to beat the virus. But I still think we've lost sight of the goal. And I think we really have to kind of step back and see how we got to where we are. We flattened the curve in April, but now in September, if you open up your business, its state is threatening to shut you down, and we're complicit in that and shutting them down. So as opposed to staying open or even opening up. So the goalpost continues to move. At the beginning, the goal was to make sure we had enough hospital beds, to make sure we had enough personal equipment, protection equipment, to make sure we having a choice. Make sure we didn't have to make a choice between who was going to live and who was going to die, who was going to be able to go into the hospital and who wasn't. We've only got 6% of our hospital beds are COVID patients right now. We've got lots of room to handle cases. Thankfully, because of the people and the great work of San Diego and our local public health officials, we never had to, reach those, the situation to where we had a widespread pandemic. I noticed in the color tiers, the worst case, purple, it says it's widespread. When our numbers are very low as far as how many people, have cases and are actually going to the hospitals. I don't think purple is even widespread. So I see that, there's still no green level. So businesses really don't have a plan to get to the green level. As far as, the yellow level is only 50% open. We've been told we can't get back to normal until there's a vaccine. So if the goal is truly to keep everyone locked down or businesses closed until there's a vaccine, we're going to have to start being more honest with San Diegans. There was an Axos Ipsos, what is it? There's a very prestigious poll was done last week that said only 13% of Americans would even be willing to try the vaccine if it comes out. So the state orders are inconsistent, unfair, and ever-changing. And what's I think is really the worst part here for between government and the public is trust. Trust is decreasing. More and more people are becoming more suspect about what's coming out of the government, about the goals, the goals that keep changing, and being even able to understand this colored tiered system. I mean, I still have questions on it. Almost every business sets goals, and for their financial or their financial needs, they have goals, and I think they need a goal to shoot for the future. And if I look to Sacramento and I wonder, what's the goal? Is it hospital capacity? Is it vaccine? Is it the extinction of the virus? In the meantime, we can't go on with our lives and our livelihoods, and we should. We must be able to. And yes, we should keep working on a vaccine, but we should not put our economic future solely upon it and the life savings of many business owners. We need to learn to live with the virus. If a vaccine is a goal, we need to win the trust back of the public. We need to let them know that we want to get their lives back as normal as possible so that they can work and feed for and take care of their families. We need to give them the facts. The facts are, if you're under the age of 50, you have a 99.98% chance of surviving COVID. If you're below 70, you have a 99.5% chance. And like I said, only 6% of our hospital beds are COVID patients. Yet we have thousands of beds available in case of an increase, and those are the facts. I think we need to quit playing on the emotions of business owners with a flawed color-coded system, and we need to be honest when it comes to the goals of COVID-19. We're quickly losing the trust of the people and the trust that they're going to do the right things. If we push them too hard, I think there's just going to be mayhem, and there's going to be the outbreak of businesses just refusing to close down or abide by the safety protocols. The trust of the people is important and paramount, and I think that's what we need to be focusing on as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. We do have a motion by myself, seconded by Supervisor Jacob, to receive the report and the recommendations included in item 5. If there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and ask the clerk to please call the roll. Oh, I believe we may have had one more speaker that had a technical problem. Is that true, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the caller that we're unable to hear has called back in, so we'll try to listen to that caller.
Okay, go ahead.
So 2465, if you can please hit *6 to unmute your phone now. 2465.
You want to give it one final call?
2465, last call for 2465.
Mr. Chairman, it appears that that individual is not able to unmute themselves, so we'll proceed at your direction.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. If there is no further discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Okay, the last action item we have before us today is item number 12. This is a report to the board on exploring opportunities for the on-site childcare at County of San Diego campuses, and Supervisor Gaspar has requested an opportunity to comment on this item. Supervisor.
Thank you, Chairman. As this board well knows, we're facing a childcare shortage in San Diego County. There are 145,000 childcare spots for an estimated 335,000 children in the county in need of care. The high cost of childcare makes up nearly 40% of the household budget for a typical family of 4. I was pleased to bring forward this item in January, and I want to thank staff for all of the work that has gone into the report back today. We know there's a huge demand for on-site childcare, and we know it's feasible to build such a facility at a county site. So this is exciting. 15% of our county workforce expressed interest in on-site childcare now and into the future. We had 1,000 respondents express interest in childcare at the County Operations Center. The employee survey gave us an initial understanding of the strong demand. The survey, however, was conducted from late July to mid-August of this year and asked what childcare options people are currently using. This was a unique point in time. I've had a productive conversation with our CAO, Helen, and believe it's feasible for us to house a childcare facility at the County Operations Center. The pandemic has really exacerbated the extreme importance of childcare. As many of our employees have adjusted to life teleworking, they've also had to find that balance with childcare needs. It's likely that telework policies will continue into the future, and as such, the need for office space will be reduced. This is the perfect opportunity to utilize some of that additional space to help working families and provide an important benefit for our employees. For $2 million, we could have a great facility right at the COC. We recently granted $25 million in CARES Act funding to the San Diego Foundation for childcare providers impacted by COVID-19. We know the pandemic will have a lasting impact on childcare in our region, and as one of the largest employers, we have the opportunity to lead and be part of the solution. Again, I appreciate all of the time and energy that's gone into this report and think it's appropriate that we continue to move forward. So today I'd like to make a motion to receive this report and to direct the CAO to conduct a feasibility study that will look at excess space at the COC and the next steps to creating an on-site childcare facility at the COC for county employees.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Supervisor Gaspar, seconded by Supervisor Jacob. Are there any additional comments by my colleagues? I think this was just a great idea, and I'm glad to see the report back. Supervisor Gaspar, thank you for your leadership on this item. We appreciate it. And if there's no further discussion, I'll ask clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, the motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Before we adjourn into closed session, we do have a number of adjournments in memory, and I'll start off by asking Supervisor Jacob if she would like to go ahead and do her adjournment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to adjourn this portion of our meeting in memory of Warren Dwayne Pillsbury, who was a rancher, conservationist, and husband of Joan Embry. Dwayne was born in 1929 in Nebraska. His family moved to San Diego, where he graduated from Hoover High School in 1947. Then he went on to San Diego State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in business and a master's degree in economics. He both wrestled and played football for the Aztecs. Later, he became an economics and real estate instructor at Cuyamaca College when it first opened in 1978. Dwayne had 2 daughters from a previous marriage and met Joan when he was 50. She helped him and his daughters build a new home in Lakeside after his previous property burned. The home is still on the 20-acre ranch called Pillsbury Land and Livestock Company near the San Diego River Trail. It has been home to many fundraisers for civic, environmental, and animal conservation groups over the years. Dwayne always accompanied Joan on her world travels and during her TV appearances. He was her greatest cheerleader and her rock, and they were partners in everything. After Joan traveled and fell in love with Africa, the couple returned 12 times during their marriage. Dwayne dabbled in drawings as a youngster and picked up sculpturing, wax and clay, whittling, wood carving, and creating bronze, silver, and gold jewelry in later years. Much of his crafting was done on long plane rides across the globe. I had the privilege of knowing Dwayne Pillsbury, and he was one of a kind and certainly one of East County's finest. And he certainly is going to be missed by many, many, many people. And he is survived by his wife, Joan, his daughters, Holly and Tori, and a granddaughter. It's very, very sad that I do this adjournment today in his memory, but my thoughts and prayers go out to Joan and his family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Gaspar also has an adjournment.
Thank you, Chairman. It's my honor to adjourn this meeting in honor of Maria Desiderio McEnany's life, who passed on August 21st, 2020. Maria McEnany's gift to humanity was her dedication to making others' lives better. Her genuine love for people, strong faith in God, empathy, giving heart, and million-dollar smile lit up every room she walked into, making people feel welcome, appreciated, and valued. Maria grew up in Rochester, New York, attending Buffalo State University and the University of Rochester. Maria dedicated herself to helping those with dyslexia and other learning disabilities, serving as president of the PTA, the board of directors of the Monroe County Learning Disabilities and Special Education Chair for the New York State PTA. In 1984, the family moved to Palos Verdes Estates, California, where Maria initiated programs addressing drug and alcohol abuse awareness, suicide prevention, and accredited peer counseling. Maria and her husband, Paul, served as co-chairs of the Los Angeles chapter of the Neurofibromatosis Foundation. Maria lived her life vibrantly and worked passionately to make life better for those less fortunate than her. Maria was a natural leader in everything she did. The causes Maria championed are too numerous to list. Highlights include her advocacy for special needs youths and adults, fighting for gender equality, sheltering abused children, and eliminating human trafficking. Maria served as the chair of the San Diego Commission of the Status of Women and Girls and was recognized in 2017 as the Democratic Party Volunteer of the Year. She is also remembered for the warm hospitality and boundless love she shared with family and friends. Maria bravely fought a 4-year battle against several forms of cancer, in addition to lifelong challenges from NF. Maria was predeceased by her brother Nicholas and parents Francis and Sarah Desiderio. Maria passed away at home in Rancho Santa Fe, surrounded by her immediate family. Devoted husband of 43 years, Paul McEnany, son Bruce J. Scott, daughter Sarah McEnany Orlando, son-in-law Mike Orlando, and beloved family boxer Enzo. Maria is survived by her brother Sam and her extended family of Desiderios, McEnany's, and Monte Santos. Maria believed each of us can make a difference, particularly in the lives of those less fortunate, and that it is our obligation to do so. Maria lived her life as a true humanitarian and steward. If you were blessed enough to meet Maria, your life was changed forever, as was ours. Maria asked that donations to remember her be made to the Children's Tumor Foundation, a cause that was truly dear to her. She's missed already. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher has an adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to adjourn today's Board of Supervisors meeting in memory and in honor of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was an equal rights advocate, a legal trailblazer, and later in life became a cultural icon with the nickname the Notorious RBG. Her journey to her place in our country's history had a very rough start. Despite graduating first in her class at Columbia Law School in 1959 and being highly recommended for a law clerk position, she was passed over because she was a woman and a mother. She faced blatant and overt discrimination early in her life because of her gender, but yet she persevered. She overcame and broke through the wall of inequality and built a tremendous career that will have a lasting impact on our entire country. She did end up receiving an offer for a different clerkship. She went on to teach law at Rutgers and Columbia Law School, and then was the general counsel for the American Civil Liberties Union and founded their Women's Rights Project. In 1980, Justice Ginsburg was appointed by Jimmy Carter to the U.S. Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia, and in 1993, then President Bill Clinton appointed her to the Supreme Court. At the time, she was only the second woman in history to be appointed to the court. It's worth noting that in her confirmation process for the U.S. Supreme Court, she received 96 aye votes in support of her nomination to the court, and she served the court in this country faithfully. But before she joined the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg paved the way for equal rights, and in particular for the basic fact that women should be treated equally as men in our society. In the landmark case of Reed versus Reed, she masterfully argued that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment could be applied to defeat gender discrimination. Her work in this case debunked in Idaho law that men should be favored over women to manage a family's estate. A recent Forbes article credited this case as being the first time gender discrimination was recognized as a direct violation of the Constitution, and it became the foundation for future decisions that protected both men and women from such discrimination. She applied her beliefs in fair and equitable rights to all in our society. In another landmark case of Weinberger versus Weinfeld, Ruth Bader Ginsburg successfully argued at the Supreme Court that a widower under the Social Security Act should receive the same benefits as a widow in order to care for children. As a Supreme Court justice, she made compelling arguments for the basic notion of equal wages. And while in one case her argument did not move her colleagues in the court, it did move the country and it moved the law. In the case of Ledbetter versus Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, a lower court on appeal reversed a decision that ruled in support of Mrs. Lilly Ledbetter's complaint that she was discriminated against for more than 2 decades. The Supreme Court upheld the lower court's decision by a slim 5-4 margin based on the statute of limitations for bringing complaints forward. But less than 2 years after that decision, then President Barack Obama signed into law the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which eliminated the limitations on when complaints for discrimination on pay can be made. In other cases, such as Virginia Military Institute in 1996, she wrote the majority of the Supreme Court's opinion that ruled the university's policy of excluding women from being admitted violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. She also delivered a thoughtful and persuasive oral argument in 1995 in Oberfeld versus Hodges that is said to have swayed the court to support a landmark ruling to grant same-sex couples the right to marry in all 50 states. It was not just her efforts in persuading the court that are memorable. Her dissent in the Shelby v. Holder case, ruling the Voting Rights Act of 1965 no longer requiring states who had a history of suppressing the vote to go before a panel when trying to change their procedures, was a mastery in dissent in a course at the University of California, San Diego. I teach on the Voting Rights Act. That dissent is analyzed line by line to provide an incredible legal foundational basis that future courts may utilize, and certainly multiple legislators have cited in their efforts to try and change the law. And time and again, she stood up for a woman's right to choose, to protect all in our country, and certainly someone who has left her impact. I had the great honor a few years ago of being invited to a very small group of individuals, a handful of us, who were able to spend several hours with Justice Ginsburg. And I found her to be incredibly brilliant, insightful, feisty, a little playful, truly someone who at an advanced age had a keen intellect and compassion and continued a diligent work ethic right up until before her death. Throughout her career, she may not have always been on the right side of the final vote of the Supreme Court, but I believe history will judge she was on the right side of the basic notion of justice. She believed that to create a more perfect union, everyone deserves to be treated equally and to be treated fairly. I believe Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the embodiment of everything that is good in humanity, and our country is better for her life and her service and commitment. I think it was appropriate we lit the county building in her honor, and I'm pleased today we can adjourn today's meeting in memory of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Thank you, Supervisor Fletcher. And as you acknowledged, the county administration building was lit up in red, white, and blue on Friday to honor Justice Ginsburg. And again, she was a remarkable woman. Pay our respects to her. The last adjournment we have today is one that I would ask my colleagues to adjourn today's meeting in honor of Kay Porter, a champion of historic preservation and restoration who improved the city that she loved. She passed away on September 15th at the age of 92. Mrs. Porter was a president and board member of the San Diego Historical Society. During her leadership, the society helped to restore many famous San Diego landmarks. She restored the Machado Stewart Adobe in Old Town, the Sherman Gilbert House in Heritage Park, the Marston House, and the Villa Montezuma, which is located in my district. She worked with the Friends of the Villa Montezuma to turn the Queen Anne Victorian-style villa into a museum. She also mobilized volunteers to manage and care for the structure. When the U.S. economy dipped in 2006, she was able to incorporate Friends of the Villa Montezuma into a nonprofit and continue the building restoration. In addition to her preservation work, she supported the San Diego Symphony and helped launch the San Diego Crew Classic Rowing Regatta. Ms. Porter is survived by her son, Ross Porter. The San Diego community is a better place because of her hard work, and we certainly want everyone to know that Kay Porter will be missed. With that, I have one final comment I'd like to make, and that is that I wanted to note that tomorrow is a very special day as our San Diego Padres play their first playoff game since 2006. I know our region will be cheering for the Padres, and I encourage county employees to wear your Padre caps tomorrow and jerseys or whatever else you've got. This has been a very difficult year for everyone, but the Padres have brought some joy and excitement into our lives. So let's root for the Padres all the way to the World Series. We'd love to see more than anything else to have a celebration, the Padres championship, right here at our county waterfront park, obviously with people wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. So again, we'll conclude today's meeting by saying, go Padres. From here, we're going to adjourn to closed session. If there's any reportable items out of closed session, they will be acknowledged tomorrow morning at the beginning of our land use hearing. Our next regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be on Wednesday, September 30th at 9 a.m. Mr. Clerk, is there any closing comments you need to present?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, as the board prepares to recess into closed session, I would like to note for the record that on item 24D of closed session, the board will discuss a challenge to the board's authority to expand the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board's investigative authority under the county charter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. We will stand adjourned until 9 a.m. on Wednesday, September 30th.